It's 6:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. So is there a motion on the floor to open the meeting for the budget purposes? Motion on the floor by Dylan, second by Becky to officially open the meeting. All those in favor? Aye. First item on the agenda, and pretty much the only item on the agenda, is discussion decision for our professional development for personnel committee, and then to also go over the budget. So personnel committee met. I don't know if someone from personnel committee, or I guess I'll head up this discussion. Personnel committee met and discussed some information that we have received the letter from MLA. So the decision before us was, do we want to support those memberships? Do we not want to support those memberships? Discussion for the response from Dylan regarding that communication.
So as I said at the personnel committee, the response that we got from Dylan from the MLA, we actually, as a group, compiled a list of questions for him, and he literally did not answer them at all in his letter. So that does not change my opinion in any way. He didn't address the things that we asked. So that's how I feel about it.
So as you say, the way it started, so Sarah had said that Dylan was open to having that dialogue. So that's how we arrived at interaction. And so I was very optimistic, and I thought that was a very generous offer from Dylan. And I thought that compiling a list of questions, to provide to him was a good approach. With the anticipation that it would perchance open up dialogue. And so we put together questions, and I do agree, and I'll speak for me, and my thought process was that it would be a good learning and education opportunity, because I had questions. And so in regards to me and the organization itself, so as I'm looking, and I went to the website and I was looking at it, and I was Googling it and was trying to get information. And so I found that it raised some questions in regards to the organization itself. So there was a Free Press article that cited that a former director of the Michigan Library Association had been cited for some ethics complaints. And so that grabbed my attention. So I just wanted some more information in regards to that. And so I was looking at that. The executive director had violated state law by failing to recuse herself from votes that had been awarded grants to her employer and another person. So where my thought process went is I was curious to know if at the end of the day, they had recommended some policy and guardrails to be established. So that was part of the questionings that I thought that get some insight into. And then I wanted insight in regards to book reviews, because I obviously don't have a master's degree in library science like Sarah, so I don't understand the process. And so I was looking for information on how this works. So I mean, obviously I can Google it, but I felt it would be beneficial to hear from Dylan as how the Michigan Library Association interacted with book reviewers. I went to the site, there's corporate sponsors and corporate partners, and there's book companies that partner with the Michigan Library Association. So I wanted to understand more about this partnership, what it did. Again, education on my behalf. I didn't think that the Michigan Library Association purchased books on behalf of libraries, but they partner with firms and that I believe do this. So with all that being said, that I'm speaking from the education on the knowledge perspective that I was seeking. Unfortunately, I didn't receive that. I'm sure there's other avenues, and I'm sure I can pursue it a little bit more. And I'm sure Sarah could help me with all of that. But I was very optimistic that Dylan would enter a dialogue with us and provide information, and then maybe have some more conversations. That was my hope. it didn't happen. The responses were pretty generic. There were questions that I was hoping to get answered. So that was my take on the organization itself and Dylan as the current director. From what I'm understanding, there's still ways to get education. There's still ways for staff to get learning. And so I was just hoping for more. And so, he had offered, volunteered. We accepted his offer, but I feel like it stopped. I was hoping to let it a bit more. So that's my opinion, and I wanted everybody to know, at least I had attempted to, reach out and get some information and do some, searching out for information on my own. So that's what I had to say.
I felt like it was a very generic response. To me, it just seemed like just an American letter that you would type out to, anybody that was inquiring about your organization.
The board put together a list of questions it's provided, and I believe that is online. That was in one of our board packets as well. The questions just weren't answered. We were seeking information on the organization. There were specific questions from members of the board that we all submitted to have him respond, to have the organization respond. And we did not receive a response to the questions that we had. So I find that just a little disappointing. We were trying to engage with dialogue and questions were.
At one point, I don't know if it was discussed with him, but I thought he was willing to come to the committee and talk with person.
Correct, but we started with asking questions first.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna.
Did you think maybe he was gonna answer him when he got here? I don't know what took place in between.
Have
you asked
the
him?
information? No, we had started with giving the questions to him through Sarah, and then, at that point, then we were gonna take it back to committee and then see if he was going to respond.
There's a reason we didn't want to bombard him with questions, and we didn't think he would realize the type of questions that we were gonna ask. So we thought it would be courteous to give them to him ahead of time, so he could give us a response, so we wouldn't be like, we don't want to gang up on him, you know what I mean? He'd be better prepared, but he didn't really answer any of the questions.
So you're not gonna invite him to come to the committee?
I think it's pointless, to be honest. And I would like to see a turnaround, because actually the specific questions we asked are things that are currently happening. And we asked for a response to it.
Yeah, I know there were a lot of questions.
Yeah, partisan things that are still occurring, because he said they're trying not to be. And it seems like they just kind of parrot what the ALA says. So any kind of legislation stuff that the ALA recommends, they go ahead and recommend it too, or go against it. For example, there's a bill right now that's called Stop the Sexualization of Children. And if you look at the MLA and their opinions on stuff, the ALA is against it, so of course the MLA is against it. So I do question the partisanship still completely on all of their things that they're doing.
Yeah, and then Don, you had brought up another organization. Did you have a chance to look at that? It's called the Association of Library Professionals. Which they're not partisan. They're
That's actually one of the key tenets, is that they're nonpartisan. It's like actually on their website, they're not for or against anything. And they came about because of the partisanship of the ALA. So it's a very new organization, though. It doesn't offer all the things that the ALA and the MLA offer, because it's just getting started, but they're trying to get started.
right. So some of the things that they say is ALP stands for library neutrality and intellectual freedom, along with many other timeless values of library profession. They help advance, promote, and defend the values upon which librarianship and modern enlightened civilization stand: institutional neutrality, open inquiry, individual liberty, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and intellectual freedom. The future of ALP is to inspire the current generations of librarians to move away from a partisan view of the profession so that libraries can continue to be trusted civic institutions. And that's from the president of the ALP. So, and currently it's $30 Yes, the membership,
Is it 30?
if they're running a promotion up until July 4th. So $30, and we had suggested,
Well, there are some other avenues out there. It's what committee had suggested to look into other avenues and to see if there were other avenues out there as well. And this was another avenue that does offer training as well.
So my suggestion would be is to offer a stipend for them to join a professional organization, but not pay for them specifically to join the MLA. And I feel like the MLA is a big cost actually too, as well, or compared to other organizations.
So to be clear,
Mhm.
the in-state association is what you're objecting to.
Yes,
You're not objecting to the fact that librarians here can go to trainings because it is the only
Mhm.
game in town. And what else are you saying?
what I'm saying,
Paying for them.
what I'm saying is I would like to not feel like the employees don't get any money for professional development. Although there's many professions that you get no money to join any professional organization. As a nurse, I never got paid for that. If it was important to me, I joined it myself. It's like a personal responsibility, but I can understand people feeling like they lost something. So my suggestion would be, we put like a stipend for a certain amount and but not like generically pay for everybody to join because everybody might not even want to join that currently works here.
So this stipend would be one amount, that's, we're
Probably-
talking budget.
I'm saying maybe 50, since that promotion is not gonna be 30 forever, but that would be a suggestion.
the regular membership fee is 50 for this.
Not saying that they have to use it for that, because that's not fair as well, but they could use that as part of the amount that if they wanted to join the MLA or the AMA.
Actually, I think that's a really good idea. It provides choice to staff. They can utilize the money how they see fit. As I say, they, are given a choice, as I say, and, the money's available. I mean, may I ask, Sarah, would staff be receptive?
Okay,
Would you be receptive?
I have a test on that, sure, so for the budget, I have 30 staff. If we're doing 50, up to 50 each, we need to budget 1,500 in the budget. And that could be differing costs for any organization on by up to $50.
How many staff members are part of that or use it? Is it all the staff?
Well, before it was just the professional staff, but I do think that there are staff that are not librarians who could benefit from that.
So like, we're gonna-
now I'd rather leave it up to people to make the choice.
So you're suggesting, I want to be clear, $50 for a membership, but that's just one part of it. Like going to conferences and trainings and the mileage is on top of that, correct?
That's still,
That's in the
That's
budget, that's in the budget.
I'm being clear.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah, that's in the budget already.
so my question, if we're changing the budget as presented, the line, if you look at the detail on page 3. So you have to be real clear if you're gonna adopt it tonight. We budgeted 3,011 for memberships. And it says professional membership staff. So we could reduce it to 1,500 for stipend. And then move the remaining 1,511 down to the one I have in red, staff conferences and training. And that way it would still be a balanced budget. Okay, that works for me.
So is there a motion on the floor for that? So can you?
So we just said it.
Okay, yeah, okay,
I can't repeat what's there, so.
okay. Is there?
So you want to move to amend the budget professional development line. Actually, the one that we vote on is the big number,
Right.
but you
So
need
you
to
can-
make direction for the
Yeah,
detail.
you use the details.
Right.
Yeah,
I just, I was
Right.
questioned if
Yes.
that line item
So it doesn't,
destination.
if we keep the numbers the same, but I just wanna make sure I implement it the right way.
So it wouldn't really change.
So we don't really need a motion.
Yeah.
We're just,
No, I just wanna make sure.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I changed the professional memberships to 1,500, understanding that people can apply for up to $50 for membership. And then I'm changing the other one, I'm increasing what people can pay to go to conference or training. Okay, that makes sense to me.
All right.
Good discussion. Were there any other parts of the budget that people weren't discussion? I have the memo, I tried to be real clear in English about what had changed.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, kudos to you and thank you also, Nancy. I'm sure you were part of that as well.
Yeah.
Assisting and thank you for all the work on that.
Yeah, and I wanted to repeat that, because I know Sarah, when you first took this job, that was one of the educational goals you had set for yourself.
Yeah.
And it comes with a lot of work, and I know there's a lot of thought into this, and just, Nancy, I know this from being treasurer, there's a lot that goes into it, so thank you for being so,
The special development that I received through the Library of Michigan was that certificate course. That really helped. That was IMLS funded, which is how I got a certificate for free. And that funding has been cut going forward. So, I mean, we get training lots of ways. But I feel like I have this easy for you to understand because I took that year first and I was impressed with what they offered. I don't feel like there were a lot of other question marks in here. I did want to touch briefly on the improvement budget, just because that's something if you're not on finance, so you might not have paid so much attention to. And it was harder to do this year, because a lot of it is just pushed over from this year's plan to what may happen soon. So I'm looking at the very small improvement line here, because we look at it from a high level. Basically, much of the money that we didn't spend yet on the project that's about to start and just moved over. Nancy's been very careful working with me to check that we're detailing every month what we spent on the project. So I just took what we paid, already given permission to spend, subtracted what we spent, moved it over. There's a small amount of other improvement. I always put 50,000 for equipment because I always think something might break in this building. Capital outlay for things like technology, equipment and furnishings, things like that. One change that we came up with through finance was the gift fund. So our gift fund is really strong. And best practice I've learned is not to carry gift money from year to year. You should really spend it when you get it. So I did. This is something you probably haven't seen before, but it's been in the packet. I'm proposing earmarking 200,000 for capital outlay. And that I think will become necessary when we look at these bids. So because the fund is so strong, I'd like to do the extra things that donors, and then I'd like it to stay smaller. It's nice to have that cushion. We get a lot from friends. But we shouldn't let it grow too much. And it's so big right now because of the grant, so it's not as big as it was. But I didn't know if you had any comments on it. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
No. It inherently feels like if somebody's giving you a gift, they want you to spend it, and they want you to spend it now,
Yeah.
type of thing.
So I think it'll be nice to.
See.
Yeah.
It's all undesignated. It's just kind of. I think things rolled a little fast with COVID, so. But it's never a good look to.
Not spend
So
that money.
just the same thing you were saying about improvement. So I'm glad you agree, and I was happy to be able to come up with that. Because having just seen the bids, they are on fire, so let's get it done.
And we're okay with the health insurance thing, because everything got
Yes.
out.
Yes, it didn't decrease as much, it's real numbers now. We did add some staff to full-time that took the health insurance. 2 or 3 staff are using the dependent benefit that we'd offered last year. It's still only 50% of it's better than nothing.
Cool.
So the cost for health insurance though it was 16% increase last year, so while it wasn't 40, which was my initial fear, it's never gonna go down. But I'm happy to say that they're real numbers. And the only other real increase that I really noticed is repair and maintenance. I put more in for the grounds, because I don't even know what we'll need for the first year. So I budgeted a larger number.
Sprinklers on there. Any other questions or comments or? Yeah.
Are there any questions?
Okay, so we're called a public. I just want to read a couple of things before, and this is something that we're going to have to now start reading before every meeting. For Robert's Rules of Order, for members that are being intentionally hostile, the chair can't order their removal. And also for our policy 8004, public participation in meetings, this is the Cromaine policy in general. The Board of Trustee meetings are held for the purpose of transacting the business of the library district. In its deliberations, the board is interested in the opinions of the public and pledges courteous attention to those who wish to be heard and who follow the rules of the board governing public participation in its meetings. The board requests members of the audience to refrain from loud talking and other distractions during the meeting. Persons who disrupt the meeting will be cleared from the meeting room. Stephanie Booth from Hartland. This one's from 7 p.m. For this meeting. So discussion for this meeting, this is for the budget. So Stephanie Booth.
It's not 7 years.
No. Pardon?
It's not 9.
She literally, you just turned in your call calling from this meeting. So she wants to.
It doesn't start till 7.
Oh, no, you would like it for the 7 o'clock meeting.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Barbara Foley?
I need, yeah, also for the 7 o'clock meeting.
7 o'clock. Okay. Shauna Brito? For 6:30? That's what you're thinking.
Well, I took a look at the Association of Library Professionals, which is what you're proposing as a replacement for MLA option. And I saw that they're a newly formed entity. They're less than 3 years old. There's about a handful of people who attend via Zoom to discuss advocacy issues. But ultimately, they're not Michigan-based. They're not recognized by any state library agency. They're not professionally credentialed, nor do they actually offer any training programs, conferences, or continuing education credits. They don't have certifications recognized by the state of Michigan or any statewide networking or committees. And for a public library board to replace MLA with an organization whose founding documents invoke religious authority raises some serious governance and constitutional concerns, especially for a tax-funded institution. So replacing MLA with ALP is like replacing a state bar association with a Facebook page. Okay, it's not even in the same category or group. And I think Cromaine's staff and employees deserve better than that. I think they deserve the budget and the funding that is there to support their professional development and their training. Now, if you want to give them a stipend where they have the choice to choose what they do, then that's a better option. And, but I will say that $50, I mean, that maybe covers half of what their MLA membership would be. And I just don't think it's enough to resolve the overall cost that an affiliate membership would dramatically benefit for the group. I also think that wasting taxpayer money on having security professionals to crack down on clapping at call to public is just downright ridiculous. And it's actually a violation of OMA to be using security to try to intimidate the public and suppress their criticism of the board's actions. There have been no threats, no physical altercations or safety concerns here. People are clapping in support of those who are speaking, and they are allowed to do so. Boards have tried to ban clapping and express reactions, and the courts have struck them down. And this board has requested the director to remove that audio clapping from the meeting videos, which to me is an alteration.
30 seconds.
Which to me is an alteration and manipulation of a meeting record. Removing the clapping from the meeting minutes misrepresents what occurred here, and it has allowed this board to make false claims of unrest and trouble that simply are not true.
Kate from Hartland?
Kate from Hartland, yep. What Shauna said, essentially, I also took a look at the Association of Library Professionals. They don't offer training, they don't offer credentials. It's like a $50 gift to what is the equivalent of, it's just giving them money, really. If the librarians choose to do that, that's fine. I was glad to see that you offered a choice of just the stipend. It's a better alternative. But again, when I write my call to public and I do my homework, it's before I get here. So what Shauna said and that.
Thank you. Rox Neal from Deerfield?
That's me, 7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Comments from the boards? Any comments?
Just want to reiterate again for budget, Nancy, treasury and finance committee.
And like I said last time, our budget is the way it is, because you're very good with what you try to spend on library funds and very thoughtful.
Now I'd like to address something that was just stated in public, which is totally untrue. This board has not asked our director to remove comments or clapping from our videos or any of that. The board has not asked that.
I don't edit them at all. It's
She
the,
did.
it's the
Yeah.
microphone.
She doesn't edit. It is what it is when it comes out. So that's just misinformation. Any other comments?
Sorry, I'm late, I
Okay.
just got up. I didn't-
Understand. Is there a motion to close this meeting? Motion by Becky, second by Kim. All those in favor? Okay, we'll take a brief 3-minute recess till the 7 o'clock meeting.
You know what, it was 2, they were taking me out, I'm so sorry, no, it's fine. I just figured we had time to get foods. It makes you not. Thanks. I thought I did this last year.
Oh, it's fine. So oh my God.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
I do as well. I know you have my phone. No, I have a very good thinking for this.
And then we talked about.
I heard there's a lot. You have to read all the other stuff.
I think it has to be. I don't hear any legal issues on reading them. So for the motion.
So we have. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, okay, so we could just say.
But every one has stayed the same.
Yeah. But this is a person.
It's a lot. Right.
Right, right.
Especially because first we don't.
It's right there. I'm ready.
Yeah, so I think the same brevity.
Yeah, sure.
Let's call this meeting to order. It's like it's 7:01. Roll call vote. Trustee Boland,
Here.
trustee Smith,
Here.
trustee, treasurer Rosano. Rosa. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
She's not.
Secretary Armstrong.
Here.
And Vice President Reese is here. And I am here. All right, can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda?
I'd like to add, to our agenda under, 6, discussion decision. C, I believe, where the book challenge update is. The ACLU letter that was sent to the board members as part of the record.
You want to make that part of that or like a separate, like E, and then there's a E?
No, just part of, it's
Okay.
the same special.
Were you making a motion?
No,
Okay.
Would you like to add there?
Yeah.
Any other? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
That's with the change on
Motion
motion.
to change?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion is to approve consent agenda by trustee Boland, second by Vice President Beasley. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Director's report.
Okay, so I have a few updates since I wrote this a week ago. I always like to start if you have any questions with the written report. Did you enjoy the kids? I didn't really see them, but you can see them online. These are the children that come to the second grade tours always write us letters, and I really like the last one in the color. It said, "They're sorry our cat died," which Michael library used to have a cat. Yeah, that's a big hit for the tours. I just figured I'd point that out. I really liked it, and we've had a lot of good pictures from May. This is all from May. Lots of good things going on. So I just need to thank staff that helped me put this together. My main update is about the bid process, the construction update, and I do have an update that just came together today. So the bids closed on Monday, June 15th. We received one bid from the person we assumed would. They have been reviewing them Tuesday and Wednesday with me. I say they, Grissom, Metz, and the associates, and I have had many phone calls in the last 2 days. We've been talking to the contractors and their stuff to make sure everything's covered as we expected. We have sent back a few spreadsheets for correcting some of the things that we want to negotiate on. By Monday, I should have some specifics about the cost of the additions to the paving turnaround for the schools so that I can then go to the schools and give them real numbers to talk about. We created a spreadsheet so that they have a clear, so I can say this is the number, because the bid is always like a lump sum, really estimate, right? But it's based on lots of moving parts. The township has already returned one of the things we need to get the land use permit with a few changes needed. They're working on that, should have it done by Monday. So things are moving quite quickly. And the way Livingston County does it is interesting and I guess not typical, that you can't get permits from the county until you get the land use permit, but you can't get the land use permit until you do something with the county. So you have to go in this circular motion. So they've been doing that for weeks. So everything's going to happen. My goal is to have some meetings Monday and Tuesday. Monday, I might be able to reach out to the schools and talk real numbers. There's a potential that we could award this bid by the date in the schedule that we have is July 10th, would be a Friday. So I would like to propose a special meeting on July 9th if we could get 4 people there. Because by then I can have the details to have Sue deliver it with everyone. But if anything derails, we could keep the July 16th meeting, which is the regular meeting. She couldn't tell me for sure today which one we would need. So she said maybe have them reserved too. I hate to do that to you, but it seems like, because I hate to wait a week. Because once we award it, then they can apply for the permits to put the silt fence out and the things. So it takes 2 to 3 to 4 weeks after we award it. But July 9th is probably the soonest we could do it.
So it's not possible to get that in June.
No. I don't think we'll even have real,
Okay.
I mean, we have real things, but I don't think we could just, because I was like, can we just award it tonight if it's only one bid? But there's things you have to do when
Right.
you accept
Well,
it. Accepted.
Should we see if we have a quorum for both dates, then we won't have to worry about it?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, that's basically my question. And technically for a special meeting, we only need to give X number of days notice, so we could even wait. I just wanted to say the dates I'm looking at in the room, so that we could know if we'd even have a quorum.
So you're saying not to have a regular July meeting, we haven't decided that yet.
Right now, I'm saying we might need to reserve 2 dates and then figure out which one. But it would be about the bid, just about the bid. Yeah,
But no regular business in July.
as long as, yeah, I mean, that's an option.
In the July 16th meeting, there was no business that we had.
We have to meet once in order to award the bid. I
Right.
feel like it'll be one of those 2 days. And the reason I'm hedging is I'd rather just say we'll do it the 16th because I know we'll have all the information by then, but I'd rather not delay a week. I also, all the PR we're doing about the concerts, I'd like things to be happening
Right,
because
right.
we're doing it at the hall.
Right.
But I don't know that even July 9th, nothing will be happening. And that's just reality. And I'll just kind of, tell people.
I'm available in May.
You are, okay.
I'm available as well.
I'm not.
Okay.
I took a picture of June.
And I'm trying to get my husband to take a
Okay.
picture of July, so it's incoming, like.
Well, and I don't know how Holly's answering it because I texted her today, I haven't heard back. So Becky, Dawn, and then Bill's a no.
I don't know.
All right, well, why don't we continue this conversation? Everyone has their schedule. You're not here, Nancy?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. So we can do this as long as we publicize it a certain number of days ahead, we can call it and we'll,
Okay.
but that's the cadence I'm seeing that might happen. I'm pleased with what I saw in the bids. They did go up, so everything went up nationally since January. They're not out of scope, I think we could do it. And like Sue says, we're sharpening our pencils and deciding which parts, there's a lot of add optionals that I think we have to just decide what we really want.
Would it be better just to have the July 16th meeting then? Well, is everybody available?
No, I'd like to do it then.
My opinion is,
Yeah.
a week.
A week is a long
A
time.
week is a long time.
I
really
checked
have no
around,
idea.
if you get a quorum though, we don't.
Yeah. Well, I think we will leave the 16th,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and, to get out of jail the week before, and I'll communicate that and we'll publicize it appropriately.
Okay.
Um,
So just so the public's aware, we're trying to be very transparent with calling a special meeting. The only agenda on the meeting would be to approve the budget for the outside, so.
and I'm gonna ask a question of comment type thing. So I know we're talking, Thursday the 9th or Thursday the 16th. What about any of those days in between those days?
yeah, I mean, we already have 16th on the schedule, and the schedules, have the 10th on it, that's why we picked the 9th, because like the latest we could go.
Yeah. I'm just offering
If
as
we
a,
can't get that forum, I'll do that.
yeah,
I'll do that.
Okay.
So,
And then via email.
yes, we
and
can
then-
do that via email, as long as we
Right.
publicize it appropriately, I think it should be okay.
Right.
So I haven't given you a lot of details, but I am excited that the person who bid is, someone I think would do a really good job. The other contractor did come to the pre-bid meeting and was interested, but didn't think they could meet, the timeline requirements that we have. Even, I've allowed it to go through next spring, and they didn't think they could do that, so at least they withdrew without making a mess of it. So I don't view it as bad to only have one. And it was a competitive bid process, so it was a good process, as in we didn't hand it to somebody, we did the process. There's a lot of details, I'm gonna need a lot of time to focus on this, I have not given it my full attention until this week, because I couldn't, right? But I think it'll be an interesting, education for me as a director.
so, with the meeting to approve the bid or whatever, are you looking for like specific, like this, like tick decision?
What I was thinking, last time we did it before a board meeting, we had the committee meet and make all these decisions. I was thinking at this one, we could have her come do that at that meeting,
Okay,
help us make any decisions,
yeah,
and then award.
Okay.
Because that will save time, and
sure,
if it's not gonna be the full group, we might as well hear it in the room and make a decision.
yeah,
Sure.
I haven't seen anything that would indicate we wouldn't award it. It's more like real brass tacks about what we're saying.
rather blue,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's,
once you award the bid, you do it as described.
Right.
yeah.
Would you need to have the ad hoc committee meeting before or no?
No.
Okay,
It'll kind of deep.
right. Yeah, I should. Okay.
Okay.
Cheaper.
Okay, so now,
Oh, good.
so we might. So it's,
Good Zoom.
and Nancy's. Okay, I have a few other updates. Thank you. we had that security assessment in the spring and we had a written report about things we should do. One of the things we did this week was, I don't know the phrase for it, but we now have basically a button we can push that will lock the front doors. We won't use it to lock up at night. It's more of an emergency thing. There's these 600-pound magnets down on the doors that make it so you can't go in or out. They were just installed, they work. There'll be staff training on that, because we wouldn't want to use it haphazardly. You can't get out either, and there's issues with that in public building. But that came out of that work plan, and we had the locksmiths here to fix the handicap buttons were malfunctioning, and so when they were here, I asked if they could do it. So I'm pleased that we're slowly making some of the security improvements that we've listed out in that, and I thought I'd just mention it. Last month, the lockers had just gone in. They're fully functional. We've just started doing PR around it. So if anyone wants to take a look at those lockers on the way out, they're really great. We have a new bike rack by the lockers because people were actually riding their bike during the summer.
Have you gotten any use of the lockers yet?
Yeah. Yeah, we did a real soft launch, which was good because we had to learn how to use them. But now that we've done some PR around it, I think we'll get more use. And then I had mentioned via email that film crews were here for 4 hours on Tuesday. It was a group paid for by the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. It's really PR for them about their grant making. But they were here for 4 hours. They interviewed me, Liz Welch, who's our community engagement manager, and the person who's coordinating the TLN grants. So TLN, the Library Network, who's our consortia, was awarded $1.5 million from the Wilson Foundation, and they are giving out what they're calling a rural library grant program for the next 3 years, $500,000 a year. There's a criteria, there's a page on their website, TLN's website, about who qualifies, but it's all about population and density. So we are considered a rural library. And because we had a relationship with Robert C. Wilson Foundation for the sport court, that's the group that gave us the sport court 5 or 6 years ago, and they're funding the Heritage Garden. They wanted to use us, so it was quite the PR thing because we got interviewed and they had sound things and there were kids, and we will be able to use some of that footage once we get it. We have done, and it was quite a thing. Liz managed it and she did a great job. I really appreciate all the effort. I was really tired Tuesday. We had one of the therapy dogs come, so there's going to be footage of people with the therapy dogs and the teens were doing things and little kids. So I'm hoping it'll be some good B-roll that we might be able to use. It's always nice to have people here. And then, of course, they had a drone out here at 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, flying over and taking pictures of the property. So the nice thing is they're a great organization to work with. I'm happy to help them spend their money. So hopefully they said end of July, they hope to have it out. So we'll send that around. It's about the grant making, but it'll be good images of the library.
So we'll be able to see it?
Yes, it'll be on.
We'll share it on our social media.
Yeah.
That's
So
Is it gonna go in the community foundation book too for annual report? Did they go elsewhere?
well, the Community Foundation brought us to them, so I'm sure they're pushing people towards this. It's quite an ecosystem of connections. And our contact at LC Wilson, we support the Community Foundation, so they're well connected. But that's just an update for you to know that we did all that, and patrons were very generous with their time. And it was delightful. I think I do well off the cuff, but having to do it with like a light in your face was a little scary. They were very nice. That's my update. I don't think I have more now, unless you have any questions.
Good job.
I am concerned about the PR around the concerts. Liz puts them in my report every month. So I just wanted to reiterate, even if nothing's happening out there, we're doing them in the hall. And I've had a lot of patrons ask, well, could we still do, there's so many moving parts. We had to make a decision back in like March, really, if not earlier. Liz starts booking for next year now. So in a friendly tone, I've been telling people I had to decide to cancel the concerts or put them in the hall. And I'm doing them in the hall. So tell your friends, they'll be at the music hall. I actually think it's gonna be fine. It'll just be sad if it's just empty over here. Because people will be like, what? But you have to make a decision months ahead, and it was a hard one to do.
Well, the good news is that everybody's so engaged with them, but I
Yes.
mean,
I hope so.
silver lining.
I think it'll still be fun. Hopefully we'll have good enough weather to have those food trucks there.
Good job. Any other comments for director's report? Anything else, Sarah? Discussion decision, public budget hearing, discussion decision. Okay, so we're gonna read, technical, because it's, we have to read the resolution here to do this. Okay, so minutes at a regular board meeting of the trustees of the Cromaine Library, County of Livingston, Michigan, at Cromaine District Library Community Room in the Township of Hartland on the 18th day of June 2026. Present are, trustee Boland, trustee Smith, secretary Russell, Armstrong, the treasurer. I forgot that the treasurer, Rosso, secretary Armstrong, vice president Beasley, and myself, Jimmy Gilgilesky, president. Absent is Holly Miller. The following preamble and resolution were offered by the director.
That's everybody.
And supported, so you can,
So it's a motion and then.
so is there a motion to accept this preamble and resolution?
Alright,
Offered by
Done.
Don, sorry, and supported by Bill, Trustee Bowen. Whereas the Cromaine District Library was established by a district library agreement dated November 1st, 1995, entered into between the Township of Hartland and the Hartland Consolidated Schools under the provisions of Act 24, Michigan Public Acts of 1989, as amended, Act 24, and whereas the Board of Trustees adopted Resolution 2025 through 19, adopting the operating fund budget and set millage rate for fiscal year 25-26 on the 19th day of June 2025. Whereas the budget appropriated funds for operating expenses and fund reserves, and whereas changes to be made in these appropriations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby amends the budget as shown. Be it further resolved that all resolutions and parts of the resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and by the same hereby are rescinded. Ayes? All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? I hereby certify the foregoing is a true and complete copy of the resolution adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Cromaine District Library, County of Livingston, State of Michigan, at the regular meeting held on the 18th day of June 2026. And that said meeting was conducted and public notice of said meeting was given pursuant to and in full compliance with the Open Meetings Act, being Act 267, Public Acts of Michigan, 1976, as amended, and that the minutes of said meeting were kept and will have been made available as required by the Senate. So that covers resolution 2026-13, 2026-14, 2026-15, 2026-16, 2026-17, and 2026-18. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none? Carries.
Do you have to, point of order, do you have to do them separate for the next year's budget? I thought you did.
Well, that was the amending one. You could do the next year's budget one.
Yeah, because the what you read was
Right,
fixing currently.
okay.
So you could do the first three, and then the last three would be adopting the new. And instead of reading it all, you could get to that.
So that would just be for 13, 14, and 15. So 16, 17, and 18. We have to read through all of that.
I said just vote on this one. Yeah, you could just summarize. It's just that they're two distinct.
Right,
things.
so amending is the same verbiage as before.
Nancy, as treasurer, would you want to make a motion to start out?
For adopting a new budget,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay,
So Nancy, I would make a motion to do that.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we amended the budget and we've adopted. Manor Consortium audit letter for 25-26.
So this is a form letter they send every year, but I figured I just got it, so I stuck it in the packet. Every year Nancy asks me the question about one of the paragraphs that seems alarming, like there's problems, but that is foreign language. It's a reason they do an audit of a public entity every year, that there could be material misrepresentations, and they have not found any. I hope that continues. So it's basically a requirement that I presented to you, so you know we're about to be audited. We're scheduled to do the audit the first week in September, I think the week of September 6th or 7th. Darlene and I are pleased that we have the documents required this fast, so we'll start working on it next week. Another thing, some board members might not know that each year some of you get questions from the auditor, but not all of you. So if you haven't gotten them before and you got them this year, don't be alarmed. But they don't tell me that, 'cause it's a chance for you to chime in about what you see, and they do different people at it. I didn't really know that until last year. So,
Are you working with the same auditor person?
we are, and Nancy has tasked me with nailing down how long our agreement is and how long we've been with them, so we might want to do a bid in a year. Because we've been with them at least for 3 years.
Would you consider doing this someone different? Was that the idea?
Yeah, it's always best practice to
change.
change. Visually versus.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah, and they've been a number of years, at least,
right.
again, like,
I'm gonna say for.
I've been here for.
Other questions, comments? The challenge update was really. I don't know what to discuss there.
I put it on the agenda because I wanted to just update the list. I have to everyone. I find this hard to look at in print. It's easier to look at online. But it was an interesting process to try to process all these books. So I just wanted, the real thing that's worth looking at is the little key at the top. I was trying to write a memo about this, but it got very convoluted and I didn't end up doing it. So, the summary is at that top of the page that, how many books I moved, how many books you moved, how many books were labeled, how many books were reviewed, etc. So I hope that's helpful to the public. I'm still getting questions. I have questions, and Nancy wanted to talk about the letter. I did write down some things. So to start off, I moved all the books. They're downstairs on a cart right now. They can't live on a cart. It's not a good location for a library. We're finding room in the collection. They shifted some things today, so they'll probably be in a location by next week. Putting a sign on them was hard, so I called it recently relocated because I didn't know how to label the books. So they're down there if you want to look at them. I did that early last week. There have been questions from the public to me, and I wanted to have some discussion around it, and the ACLU letter is part of that. So I'm just going to ask a few questions. I don't want to be combative. I'm not fighting. One of the questions I keep getting from staff, and I did have one staff member who wrote me a letter, which I'll send along. I don't want to read the whole thing right now, but the main boil down is if we have policies and procedures that we don't follow, and I say we, the board, you changed how you did it. How are they to implement policy? So the main questions are around that. I don't know how to do this properly, so I'm concerned that in one of the meeting minutes that we had, I think it was personnel, we wrote that I understood why trustee Smith made the motion to move the books, because Nancy had made a motion at each meeting. But this ACLU letter made me think it isn't the same, because you didn't follow the process that we established. And I'm not saying I'm not gonna move the books, I already did. Like, I took direction from the board. But we set up a process, we voted on the process, and then we didn't follow it. So staff are now saying, what do we do with the rest of that policy and the policies and the processes that go ahead in the future? So I'm just left with a question we can talk about in committee.
What do you mean we didn't follow the board that explained we didn't follow the process? The board had the choice to relocate.
After assessment though. So you didn't assess 100 and what is the number? 'Cause we keep seeing different numbers. You didn't assess 148 titles. So I considered this month saying I wouldn't move them because you hadn't done it per policy. But then you could have fired me, so I chose not to do that. But process-wise, it is required. That we voted on that piece of paper that we weren't turning in and then we weren't doing. So the board, the questions I'm getting are about how are we gonna change this now going forward? I think it has been weaponized, as you all see, that this number is not acceptable. We did change the form to say you can only do one at a time, and I fully expect that to be what we do in the future. But the process was that you were to review the request for reconsideration and my decision, have access to and completely read or review the challenge material, complete a form, which you all voted on, and give me a copy into the president. We did say just go to the president. I have that binder, none of you were turning them in at the end, only a few. And then participate in the discussion and voting after evaluation had been completed. That was in the process that we made up. And then we didn't do that. So it was a hard decision for me to move them without having done that.
The books that were voted on, the forms were turned in.
Okay, by some of you. And again, that's over, but I don't have them. So that's part of public record and people are asking me for them. So the evaluation of appeal form itself required you to indicate whether you'd read them or not.
Thought we were just turning them into.
Yeah, but that's,
They were turned in and they were, the full.
but not the 148 that I just know.
Right.
So I had an ethical dilemma this month and I talked to colleagues and I could have come tonight and said, I'm not gonna move them because you didn't do this right. And I rolled over and said, fine, I don't wanna play this game anymore either, but this sets a precedent. So we need to move forward with a real plan, and I don't know if I trust you to do it based on this.
So my plan, as I mentioned at the previous meeting that was, the public wasn't there, is going forward, if there's a large book challenge like this, I would suggest that we move them and then read them and actually go through them.
Well, why wouldn't you do that with these?
Well, because it seems like it's a hardship for some of the trustees to read, we had agreed on a certain number. No, it seems like that wouldn't get done and it would take us a really long time. So I think one thing we can do is try to make sure we don't have 200 put in one time, because that's actually unfair on one hand. And then also on the other hand, make sure that we give ourselves a reasonable number to do. So,
I mean, Sarah, you gave the job to some
staff.
Right.
Yes, which
So because I mean, that would have taken you forever to
Yeah.
read those, right?
Okay.
So,
we can have the
I
debate, I
understand.
already done it, but we did follow policy.
right.
And then I implemented it, and now I have staff writing me letters about how am I to interpret your policies going forward. Just because it was hard doesn't matter. I did it twice.
Well, a possible solution would be for committee to just revise the policy and then it's vote on the revision to make allowance. And
That'd be great. So I have questions about that too. So this letter from the ACLU, which I couldn't put in the packet because we changed that policy. Notes a lot of the things I'm concerned about, which is about process and procedure. I wanted to know if you've read it and if you have comments about it, because this
Yes.
made me curious about what I've done.
The letter riddled with typos and misquotes and information.
England.
And innuendos, and the letter that had so many typos, yeah.
One of the things that I found profound in the letter is there's a lot of mention of case law and court cases that are old. But there's no mention of Little versus Lana, which is actually 2025, that it also went to the Supreme Court.
Yes,
So that they don't even mention that, which makes me feel like it's a slightly disputed.
okay. So are there factual inaccuracies in the letter? Other than, I noticed typos too. I'm a librarian now, I see that.
What's interesting, they must be English because the way they spell cataloging, but that's,
Yes.
but,
Yeah. I'm curious about why the board chose not to get an updated opinion from our lawyer. Because Anne offered, and I said I was interested. And she was talking about that case and other cases that have happened in the last year. I haven't been able to keep up with all of them. I think there's been a lot of movement. So who are we going to consult? Not Anne. I need legal advice here about how to work on a policy that I'm supposed to, and I did a lot of work on this. It was hard for me too. I don't know what to do going forward. And I think we need to work on it in committee, but I don't. Yeah, it's hard to do this without knowing the answers, but we were offered an updated opinion. And I heard the majority of the board didn't want it.
So we were offered it? I don't know anything about that.
At this time.
What's that?
There was an email that, our majority of the board here, and I talked to everyone and they asked, do we want an opinion from her at this time? And
I wasn't asked.
Well, I need legal advice. So we tried for a year to pick new lawyers. We didn't find the new one. I asked our lawyer for advice and then was told the board didn't want it. So have you consulted with
at
any legal?
at this time,
At this time, okay.
that's what, at this time.
On this matter, I would say.
Was that a committee decision or who made that decision?
Janine made that decision.
It didn't come before the board then. This is pretty important information and policy, I think.
Well, and I felt bad even asking, so I shouldn't.
I didn't make that decision by myself.
You didn't.
I did contact other board members. And it was.
And I don't need permission to go to the lawyer. I could have just brought it tonight, but I kind of didn't want to bomb you again and surprise you the way I've been surprised. Because that didn't go well before. So it was a valid question and I asked it. But I need to know who to ask now. So we need to put that on the agenda for a future committee meeting.
Right.
And we need to actually accomplish it.
So the yet, I think the yet is a good word.
Well,
But, so time out, let me just, time out. I don't, from my vantage point, I don't think there's any change. Because if you have questions from the lawyer, for the lawyer, they think this, what's in play. My opinion, nothing's changed.
the way you interpreted and carried out a policy has changed.
No. Your statement was, you have questions and you need advice. And your question was, is who do I ask? And so my opinion is that landscape hasn't changed. So still ask Anne for her advice.
So my mistake was asking.
I don't think a mistake was made. I always think I appreciate your offer for, her to give us information. I appreciate that. That's why I see the yet, in my opinion, I didn't.
Well, part of it was because of this letter that what you just said, I think she was gonna weigh in. And it could have resulted in you having a leg to stand on this last decision. I don't know. Because my training and instincts tell me I shouldn't have moved them, but wanting to keep my job had me move them. And nobody threatened me, but I understand that if you don't do a board directive, that's a bad thing. So I'd like to put this on the agenda, but I need, so I'll go ahead and ask her for that opinion, and I may or may not have to share. But it's strange now, the way we do the packets. I feel like I don't have the control I used to have, where I could just tell you things and you could make decisions. So it's difficult for me.
What's changing the packets? I'm sorry, for.
I would have put the letter in the packet, but we shouldn't because of the policy. Or I would have just gotten the information from Ann and shared it. I just knew you probably didn't want it, which I think was right? So I did the right thing there. I still want to know.
Yeah, and I don't think anything's changed with that, or if you feel comfortable and need to speak with Ann, I mean, that's proceed as normal.
Well, okay, that's helpful to know, because I didn't want to step out of line.
I thought we discussed that a couple of months ago and said that's you.
What changed is I had a question, do I legally have to do this? And I couldn't ask our lawyer. So I didn't want to move them because I don't think you followed policy.
Right, but there's also legally that, like I said, in a threatening manner,
Yeah,
that the
directed.
the director operates according to the direction of the board.
Yeah.
And everything is delegated.
Yes.
Everything is delegated. Not that I want to
The
do
policies
anything.
though, and the policy, I'm confused about this whole process. I can remain confused, but that's fine.
And
So here's the question my staff have asked me, and one of them really writes well. She said, if the board can disregard the review process in this case, under what circumstances would it be required to follow it? And that's my question. If we can make a plan about with fewer numbers and when it's not weaponized to make it about whatever.
So if Anne, she doesn't probably have it in hand, that template that, like, where you guys could take it to committee and look at it, right?
Yes, she does. It's the one you changed.
Right.
It's the,
That was-
yes, that was her policy.
That was hers, okay.
Yes, but it's not about the policy, it's about the legal landscape with Lano and all those other things. There's been a lot this year. I mean, I don't live in a bubble. I wanted to know the legal risks, because you set up the motion to move the books, it was too risky to leave them. And I wanted to know if that is now what we're doing. Because we've set a precedent, you just said, well, we move them and then assess. It's not how it's written right now. So these are the things people want to know, is that what we're doing now? And it isn't for policy. So,
So the main reason this whole thing happened was because many of the majority on this board wanted to have not just one person or some staff librarians reviewing the books, that it should be a board responsibility. I said the books from all 7 of us. That was in the minutes of past. And this board chose to go against their own policy, which is what the ACLU is pointing out in 7 pages, which I do want this to be part of our record today. Because this should be transparent document for the public to see, because they're really citing the things that I was talking about last board meeting, and that this board is really having risky behavior right, doing what they're doing. Going against your own policy, as well as moving the books to a different location that makes it that much more difficult for anybody seeking those titles. And without anything else than, let's just call it what it is, a prejudice against a group class of people. So this is scary from a financial perspective. We can't afford to be sued and lose the whole project outside. And going forward, right now, we have no policy in place. If we get, as I said, tomorrow, another appeal in the door, there's nothing on the books that says how this board should react. Because you the majority here have gone against that policy. If we're going to change the policy, that would be different. I think the committee needs to come in with a new draft. You're leaving the
But
library.
in May, we chose not to. That's why I'm confused about the timing. I mean, we obviously are now if you need to, but something happened between the committee meeting in May and then the board meeting in May that I wasn't privy to. So like thought process here. I mean, Becky, you're always about process and you guys disregarded the process. And I get that it was hard. And I don't want to relitigate it, but I want to say that we need to address that. I don't know that I can lead you through it, and I don't know that my trusted sources can. So I feel pretty rudderless about the collection. Maybe it'll just blow over. I don't think so based on this.
It is now 15 minutes to closing and the library is closed.
So it's in here.
I just check out the circulation document this time. Thank you and have a good evening.
So Nancy, I would just like to state that it's your opinion that the board is doing something against a group, which I completely disagree with. I want to state that for the record. And I also want to say that the Little versus Lano actually said that you can move books and it's not violating any right. And that's more recent. That's 2025. And it did go to the Supreme Court and it did stand. So
You're willing to risk this
It's not a
library.
risk. It went to the Supreme Court and it did stand. So I do agree that we need to look at the challenge policy though as well, because if this does happen again, I don't want to do this again. I would rather read books. That is my opinion, and that would be an ideal role. And like I said, I'm not making fun of people but it was a hardship for people to be able to read the books in a timely manner so that we could actually get through them, at least within like months, not years.
But
And
they
that's
had a
hard.
logical alternative to that, and that was to accept the librarian's credibility, her master's degree in library science, and her staff who actually did read all of books.
And
So they made
She actually read all the books cover to cover.
They did.
They did.
yeah, but Sarah did not, so that's not fair to Sarah.
Right.
And I have a staff. And again,
I don't want to re-argue it.
yeah.
I don't want to argue it. And having gone through, like I said at the last meeting, a portion of the books and finding that we did move some of them. I could not in conscience.
One.
And we have only, and the problem was we were going up in age group.
Yeah.
We were going in up in age group. Of course, the board books.
So
did
the
not have section
ultimate
content.
issue is that you guys don't trust my opinion.
No, it's not that.
It is though, because we started here and I said, this will be too hard.
Sarah, you didn't read, well, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said it will be too hard for people with lives to do, because it was these people's jobs. Right? And I find myself just, you already made your decision and I've already implemented it. But, and actually I have the answer. I need. The answer was I can get the opinion that you don't want, and then I can decide. I mean, I already did the thing, but I have great concerns and I wanted to go on record. I was gonna write a memo, but I couldn't get it together before the board packet and I wasn't sure how to do it. So I feel like I have the answer I need. But I can
Sorry, I have 2 comments. So Nancy, I just want to state that you made a statement that there's actions are being made because of prejudice against the board has prejudice against a group of people. I want to say, I don't want to be accused of that. And I don't think that you should be saying in general the whole board, because I don't want to be included in that. And so I just wanted to say that you said the whole board, and I don't want to be included in that group. And so Sarah, I will say I am all about process, as I say, and maybe, I don't know. Dawn, I'm kind of listening to you too. I'm kind of like, maybe we should go back to retail, of course. I
I
just say,
heard it. I
but
mean,
I-
some of the people
but I-
here thought that was the decision.
yeah, but I will tell you, Holly said she could only read 10 books a month.
And she did do it last month, but she had a family.
Yeah, no, that's
And
off the
Nancy
table,
did
that's off the
too.
table, that's
While
off
her
the
father
table.
was sad.
Yeah, and then Nancy, you had made suggestion that whoever doesn't read the books just abstain from the vote.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's good either. It's either all or nothing. And so if we go back and maybe we go back and Dawn, maybe we, because of risk was cited that, because that's 2 years, just
But
global math.
what's the risk though? That's one of my main questions.
I,
Has someone threatened to sue us for having these books? Other than the challenger?
I'm not gonna address that piece of it, but I was gonna say, maybe,
Don't you have someone for this, you would.
That was my question. Why is there a risk?
It wasn't about being sued, it was about having books that were harmful to children in the children's section or the teen section.
because we
What
don't
about
know
laws?
that
Everything's
the
not
contents
about
of the
laws
book
until
until
we
we
read
read
it.
it.
I know.
Until we read
Yeah.
them. Until we read them.
And that's the part, this is where it falls out. We're just gonna keep cycling because I lost my power by having moved. So I can't say I won't, but you set up a process, then you didn't follow it, but I would lose my job if I did that.
I would argue that,
And so
I would argue that,
We
but
can't-
that's okay.
we can't fire you, you're elected officials, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious. The through line isn't there for me. So I just want to go on record, having said that, we can move on unless there's more you want to say. I mean, you already knew that I was disappointed. Staff are beginning to feel really under attack, untrusted. I'll share the letter with you via email that I got today. I don't feel like reading it. But they're all downstairs on a cart, if anybody wants to look at them. I'm not sure how to,
Well, this should go back to committee then for policy review again.
or we can leave the policy if you say
specifically-
you won't break it again. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it's just execution. Maybe it's just the execution of it, because we never did address what to do in the interim with the group of books. It's not in this, right?
Well, you
It's not.
should have left them where they were until you voted, so you voted.
Maybe, maybe not, but what I'm saying is, I don't know, maybe
And like my suggestion was if we were gonna change the policy, and I even talked about this,
That it would blow things up, yeah.
no, that actually it would be more feasible to move books and as their challenge and then read them. So then there's no, people can still get them. They're not, according to Little Visit versus Lano, they can be in the adult section. People can find them. It's not a violation of the First Amendment. And then that way we could then go through them and not just move them, because I actually didn't want to move all of them. But because of the time constraints, and it just seemed like things were not, it's a process. You can't have a process where nothing's done. Where you're looking through it and it's just not happening. And to me, the risk of kids reading a book with inappropriate content
Well, this
was a real risk versus people having to go over to another section and find it on its heart or whatever. Like that, it wasn't
That's
about,
what it is.
yeah, it wasn't about a lawsuit. Everything is not about.
Well, I would prefer if you did finish reading. Because 58 of the books, you agreed with me on 56. So the fact that it was hard doesn't mean you didn't take.
But there was another one too that was late, so I mean.
Well, there was one label and one word. So, and I thought the point was labeling, so now I'm trying to catch up. So. Let's revisit it in July, because I'd like to move on and I've made my point. But if I'm gonna continue, I need to have said those things, so I appreciate you letting me bring it up. Nancy, I don't know if that answered, it was basically the letter came in and I was like, I have these same concerns and they're in writing. I might as well bring it up at the meeting, and we're supposed to do this in the meeting, so I appreciate the chance.
And we did actually, in our committee meeting, we did feel that we needed to discuss this at the
Yeah.
whole meeting so that the public could hear what we're saying.
Yeah.
So you're saying send it back to committee in July? In the July committee meeting for discussion on the book challenge?
Well,
Not this.
I'm just the, on the
I
policy in general.
actually,
Challenges.
and actually Sarah can't really do that, but I actually would like to do that.
Yeah.
Because I did not want to move all the books, but I felt that was the position I was put in because of how ridiculously long it would take to get through them. I would rather read all the books. So I would like to bring it back to committee if anyone wants to sign it.
So take it back to committee for policy, for the policy on book challenges.
Because when we tried to operationalize it, the way that it was written, it was not doable. the process of doing it as written did not work with the volume. So if we can tighten up like how the books are challenged themselves, we hopefully won't get so many. Hopefully that's already been tweaked a little bit. And then we can also make sure that we're thinking about the safety of kids while we're going through them and not leaving them up there for 3 years while we get to them.
So some consensus, take it back to committee for the policy change. Any other discussion?
Right, minor revisions,
Right.
wouldn't be a bad idea.
To the appeal process.
Yes.
For the appeal process.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Labels, any other discussion on this at this point? Labels for, from community relations.
Well, we did talk about that, and we also felt that that should be at the open meeting so the public could be aware of what we're discussing. And we were talking about the specific issue of the staff has been labeling books, starting with the younger children's books and trying to go through genres, which there's a lot of different genres for books. So what's happening is because there's so many books that kind of not moved on in the age brackets because they've been labeling just all of them with different genres. So the issue is what people in the community really want is for there to be an ability for people to decide that they do want a book that's more progressive, that's social issue, or that they don't. So it's actually should be, and actually what the public is asking for is for the social issue label to be added first. And then actually my suggestion was as new books are added, because it might be easier, but however, it can be operationalized by the staff. But that is what the community is looking for. And that's how we might get people who don't come to the library to then feel like they can come with their kids or their teens. So that we wanted it to be an open forum so that the public could hear what's actually saying. It shouldn't be in a meeting where the public's not there. I don't know if anyone wants to piggyback on that.
Discussion in committee as well, just to start with, the board books and part of the discussion as well too was to, and they had started with some of the books and it's like, when are they gonna move on to the teen books? When are they gonna move on? And it was also in committee as well discussed, yes, there could be a lot of books in teen that have social issues labeled on there as well. It's not a matter of the staff not labeling the books, but in different committees and different situations, it was brought about that the social issue sticker was to be the non-judgmental sticker for good books. This was written into policy, I want to say a year and a half ago. And it just seems like it was taking an awful long time to get these social issue stickers on the books. That's where this discussion is coming from. So just.
So for clarification, though, we don't have a policy like 3110 is about the collection, but social issues is not contained in any one of our library policies that I'm aware of. We have talked about it and we have discussed rainbow stickers, we have discussed genres, but we have not implemented any kind of social issue sticker policy.
It's the policy says we can have
No.
genres.
Right. And that was
Just wanted to clarify.
And then Sarah,
It's in policy 3010.
and Sarah did bring up a point at our meeting, so it was not in the open meeting, that there are probably members of the public who don't want their kids to read. The only thing we could think of was conservative books. So to be fair, we would like the books to be labeled non-judgmentally so that people who do, because not everybody, a lot of people are very heated about what they want to read and don't want to read. So it would be nice if everybody could find what they do want and have their kids not take books that they don't want and not have to read them cover to cover. So to be fair, I think there should be, social issues. There should be all sides, you know what I mean? And I would rather, I know it would take forever, but the more genres, the better. I mean, like science fiction or whatever.
Well, and that's the update I did bring, because I didn't have no numbers at the last meeting, so. The goal that was set for my personnel review this was for this whole calendar year, and we're at halfway, to label board books and picture books. That was the goal. It wasn't teen, tween, or even Jude. And they have labeled 1,700 books out of 6,000. The 6,000 are in that number, which is why we picked those two. Board books are done. Board books are a much smaller collection. You can hold it with 2 hands. Only about 100 of them have social issue labels. So I've understood from these discussions that for my performance review, which is the only place, Nancy, that it is, that social issues need to get on there. I will tell them to stop doing all the labels and focus on social issues. If we do that, they can do more than just those areas, but it isn't a Google search. They're looking at the book to see if the point of the book is the social activism. I rewrote down this is in many of our minutes. It's in the memo from September. Kim read it at one meeting, but here's what I told them. If a title in the juvenile fiction section was assessed as fitting the social issues, this is for the challenge. Here's a definition. Fiction in which a prevailing social problem, such as gender, race, or class prejudice, is dramatized through its effect on the characters of a novel. Similar to realistic fiction, but with a direct focus on activism or dismantling the social problem. As stated in that definition, this label is not applied to any of our nonfiction versions. So out of the 220, only 6 got that label per my staff's assessment. So it will be a small number of the total. I talked to the teen librarian about the goal that you put in the minutes, that I need to do teen next, which I don't know if I can do that by December. And I say the staff. She's worried that every book would get that label, and she's willing to put it on every book, but is that just diluting the field and the point of it? I mean, we could do that. Teen books are wildly like this. And I don't think that we should just put them on every book, because you have to look at them. And that's where we've had the back and forth about it. You can just Google it, it's about LGBTQ issues. That's not always activism. I think some people in the room, and I'm not saying everyone, think if there are gay characters, that is trying to get us to deal with the social issue of gay people living in this country, having the right to be married, and having families. And that's why it feels discriminatory to people, even if it's not the intent. That's why. So my update is we've done 1,709 books, around 100, and the number's 89, but it doesn't sound as good as 100, have been done with social issues, and that's only in board books and children's picture books. But because this goal is related to my performance review, are you changing the goal mid-year to be the rest of the collection? Because in December, I'll come in and be like, but I never agreed to that, and I need to know now if it's changing. Because I think we can accomplish going through all of the 6,000 in picture, which was the main concern voiced 2 years ago. But I don't think we can do the whole collection.
Well, do you think you can get through the 6,000? I guess.
Yeah.
And again, this comes from committee, and the committee was wondering, since this policy was put into place a year and a half ago, why is it taking so long to do?
Well, the reason is, to me, that I didn't interpret it. The policy said I could, I may,
Right,
and I chose not to.
right.
So then it got put in my performance review that you need to do this. And it's clear, I'm trying.
Right, right.
But you keep saying, why is it taking so long? Because I didn't do it because of all these reasons. Then I get in committee and you're like, but why this book and not this book? And it's gonna be like that.
So question, so.
Yeah.
This goes back to which books are selected and ordered.
Yeah.
So when the person who's ordering the books is ordering the books, they're not ordering them because it's a social issue book and it's not recommended because of that? Because it seems like 10% of the books are social issue books. So I'm thinking, even if that's not how it's marketed, that's like why the ALA or MLA or whatever review book, whatever review group there is, the reason the book is highly recommended is because it's about a social issue. So is it hard for them while they're ordering to try to figure out Because they're finding the books to order.
They know how to do it with the orders. We're talking about assessing the 60,000 books in this book.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like the teen section, tween, whatever, when they're ordering these books, I may be wrong, but it seems like the reason we have so many of these social issue books that are skewed, in my opinion, and we're not being fair with our collection, which I actually voiced multiple times. And it's also because they're not available, which you did point out. But I think while they're ordering, they're aware of why they're recommended. It says in there because of this social issue or this, to get rid of stigmatism against these things. So they're aware of it when they're ordering. So then they can't, there's no way to look at that when they go back and look at books that are already here.
No, they can't go back because we've lost that whole platform.
Okay.
But they can do it going forward, which I think would be an okay goal.
Mhm.
Because goals need to be SMART goals if you've ever
Right.
worked anywhere. So just saying, get all the books done is hard.
Mhm.
Saying, do all of them backwards, it'll be this pace.
Mhm.
And I think that it is, and they're already starting to do that with ones that are coming in. When we finally get up with income. So we've been using Amazon this year. They are not meant for libraries. If we still had the previous one, you could go back and see things, but you can't see it anymore. So it's not just obsolescence.
Yeah, that's what we weren't aware of too, is it seemed like when you ordered it, you picked it because it was a social issue, because people are concerned about it and they want to read about these social issues. So you knew that it was reviewed, but I didn't realize that was all lost.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really realize it until you just asked it, but it's tricky. I think they can accomplish the 6,000. I think they're well on their way. And if I tell them don't do the others, people have been enjoying having the other bits, maybe. I don't know. Those are easier to do because you don't have to assess the book. You can tell it's about dogs, or you can tell it's about whatever. Okay, that's helpful.
I don't do, does anyone else have feedback on that? Because like I said, I'm concerned that all 15 books are about social issues, but I may just be out of the, maybe not to the look.
Well, from the 200 you looked at, which are the 20, what did it feel like?
Well,
And that was a specific.
And then that's where I'm coming from. Like when I read these books, like I did voice at the smaller meeting, I'm also concerned, it's not just about the characters in the book having a different gender or different, whatever their choices are. There was a lot of drug use, drinking, glorifying drinking. Like it wasn't, some of them made it in a bad light, but I'm like, do the parents really want their kids to read these? I mean, if it had a story where there was a bad outcome, which a couple of them did, I would get it, but there's
Well,
there's
I
a
think
lot
that's, you're coming up against what librarians deal with is it's not our job to decide if they want it or not. We just make it available and they make a choice.
right. So I'm saying where's the content where that isn't all in the books? That's,
Well, as you brought up,
Mhm.
I mean, we buy the things we're asked to buy,
Right.
and we buy the things that people are interested in. I don't control the publishing industry, and staff are really chafing against your assertion that it's an unbalanced collection without any data.
well,
It's a feeling.
I don't think it's a feeling. I think we could look at it and I'd be happy to sit down with somebody and look at it and like have a topic to go, where's the opposing opinion?
That's not how it works.
I understand that's not how it works,
It
but
is,
that's how it can work.
yeah.
If you have, like I said, if you have a bunch of books about a certain topic, you should go, oh, I wonder if there's a book that's the opposing opinion.
But opposite doesn't mean, like, every topic doesn't have an opposite.
Right, but it can have, a lot of them do.
If we're
Like,
talking
not
about
others.
nonfiction and we're talking about opposing viewpoints, we have a database called opposing viewpoints. Is abortion good? Is abortion bad? Guns good or guns bad?
Right,
That's how those topics work. So
Right.
stories about people, there's not always a these people are bad.
it's
when
not
there's
these people are bad, it's that these
But
people,
that sounds like what you're asking.
no, I'm asking for a balance. And I'd be happy to sit down with somebody and figure out how they're doing it or help them find it. Because you're right, there's not like a review source where they're gonna find a bunch of them. I gave you some, but
We've
they're-
been using those and we've been buying older books. We usually only buy new books, but we've been buying older books to try to meet this need. And we'll see if it happens. But I asked to do a collection assessment in December, and you didn't want to do it because it'd be too biased, because librarians would do it.
collection assessment.
I want to do a collection assessment, and they might say, we don't have enough LGBTQ books, or we don't have enough trans books.
We can do that. We can.
That'd be great, because I was told no by Dawn.
I was told
It
no.
was you and Kim when Bill didn't come to my review. So let's talk about that at the next meeting, because I'd like to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
we'd have to pay librarians to do it.
Mhm.
And then we won't trust them. I mean, this is the circle that I'm in. I'd like to do it. It might say we have too many for this community, and then we could balance it, but just saying it and not giving me metrics, I like metrics. It's easier to say, do 10% of this.
I think that's good for transparency, to make,
Great.
and have the numbers.
Let's do that. That'll be something else.
So collection assessment will be taken back to personnel committee?
Or is that a budget?
Or is
thing,
that-
or is that which committee?
I mean, it came up in personnel, but that's not where it should be. It should be in,
Should be in.
it should really just be that I can do it. I don't need to take it to anybody. I'll let you
And
know.
we discussed that, you're talking about when Donna and I came to see you. And
No, you took my
Okay.
review in
The review.
December, and we were talking about why the books weren't labeled yet. That's why in December, my review we did in here, and I was looking bad. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. It was mostly about why hadn't I labeled all the books yet, and we said that wasn't a goal. Like, I think I'm here every day and thinking about this every day. I know you guys are not. You do a good job trying to be prepared, but like, I'm showing good progress towards it. And I'd like to do a collection assessment. So I'll look into it and I'll let you know. It doesn't need to go to a committee, I just.
Okay. So the question though is being moving forward here, then this needs to be a discussion here. So the original part of your review or your guidelines were to go through the 6,000 books.
In picture
In
books
picture books for.
and word books.
And board books. Do you feel that that can be accomplished by December?
Yeah, I think they're halfway there.
I would also add, you already started the process of labeling books as they come in, which I think would be easier. Can you continue with that with the staff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've already given that.
Okay.
And how long will it take you to do a collection assessment? How long, or something like that?
That I'll have to research, because I'd have to do, I'd have to do the pen headings and figure out, I'm not,
Okay.
probably a while.
Is that any other discussion on this, or does that make sense?
That's great.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay, let's move on to public. Members that are being intentional hostile, the chair can't order their removal. Per policy 8004, the board trustees meetings are held for the purpose of transacting the business of the library district. In its deliberations, the board is interested in the opinions of the public and pledges courteous attention to those who wish to be heard and who follow the rules of the board governing public participation in its meetings. The board requests members of the audience to refrain from loud talking and other distractions during the meeting. Persons who disrupt the meeting will be cleared from the meeting room. And also keep in mind what you're saying, you are addressing the whole board. When we're talking at public, you're addressing the whole board. For that, what you say is still considered, possibly could be considered liable, as well. So. Debbie Strata from Parkbridge Court.
That would be me. All right, I have quite a bit to say about how you're treating, number one, our librarian. I am appalled at what you're putting her through. You are putting her job at risk. Honestly, you're really quite hostile toward her, even though you have such a smile on your face and trying to keep it civil. You're not being civil. Now look, you say 10% of the books coming in here have a social agenda. Well, you know what? 10% of the population is LGBTQ. 10%. 10% of the people that you deal with that come in here every day should feel safe. They should have books that they choose to read. The books don't turn people gay. You know what turns, people, let me put it to you, hopefully in a way you can understand. When people just are, it's what they were born, how they were born, nothing is wrong with them. So when they come to the library and there's a book that they can identify with, that is wonderful. And a lot of these kids, a lot of these people are under the age of 18. It is not your job or yours or yours or yours or yours to decide what they read. Now, if their parents want to get involved, that's great, because a conversation can be had in a safe way. It's not your job. You are not their parents. You are not. People, I've worked in schools for 20 years. It's not my job as a teacher to tell them who they should be. It's my job to be compassionate. It is my job to say, hey, I'm going to love you no matter what.
30 seconds remaining.
I'm sorry, what's that?
30 seconds remaining.
30 seconds? You know what? I'm just going to end this by saying, get your act together. Because what you are doing is hateful. It is cruel. And let me tell you, I think the only thing you want to do is listen to yourselves talk. I was here a year ago. Same conversation.
Alice Stoddard from Genoa Township.
Hi, I guess as I sit and listen to all the dialogue and conversation, I'm wondering, why would you not trust the librarian that you hired based on her qualifications, her training, and her expertise? Your banning and relocating of books you deem inappropriate is a narrow view. I feel that that is a parental decision best determined by each household and not by a small minority of board members. In the United States, we have the freedom at any age to read what we want to read. It's a hardship to read books that you're relocating. If you can't be bothered to read them, how many actual teens do you think are going to be harmed by them? Are you going to review all of the policies? If not, why pick and choose which policies you're going to review? You are setting a dangerous precedent unless you are going to review each and every book in this library. We cannot live in a bubble. To have meaningful dialogue, we must exchange ideas of differing opinions. Thank you.
Kate Mazzaro, you wanted to speak again, correct?
Yes.
From Hartland.
Okay, so we've got moving them, label them. How much more time before we're burning them in our new playground? In our new beautiful area, we'll have a bonfire. We can just throw them in there because that's where we're headed. You can pretend we're not, but the frog is slowly boiling. So you did absolutely violate your policy, and it is F in 3010. And it says that you have the library board will review relevant documentation and decide within 60 days of receiving the appeal. The option to extend, if necessary, to fully evaluate the material. Those books that just got moved last time were not fully evaluated by you. You didn't feel like doing your homework. And when my kids don't feel like doing their homework, I used to say to them, it is hard, but you can do it. So I'm saying to you today It is hard. Reconsider. Do it. I think the other problem with the books was, of those that you did read, like that has been mentioned, one got labeled and one got moved. You were not getting the results that you wanted. You were not being able to do it, because this really doesn't have anything to do about protecting children. You weren't getting the results that you wanted. So and I suspect, don't have proof, but I suspect that maybe there was some little kibitzing going on behind the thing before you made the motion the last time to just move all the books. I was at the Memorial Day parade. We had a booth. We were talking about what's going on at the Cromaine Library. And the public is disappointed. People that agreed with you, people that wanted those books not in the library or moved or whatever, that agreed with you, also agreed that you did not finish doing your due diligence. You did not finish the policy, and you quit before it happened. And I love how none of you are really, like, thank you for acknowledging that I'm speaking. The rest of you are not paying attention. I've been coming here every meeting. I am invested in this library. It saved my life when I was grieving and needed to find books on grief.
30 seconds remaining.
And I am sickened by you making policy and not following through because it got hard. Thank you.
Christie from Hartland Township.
Jotted down some thoughts while I was at work today, so I'll skip through this as quickly as possible. My name is Christy. I've lived in Hartland Township for 19 years. My son attended Lakes, Farms, Ore Creek, and Hartland High School. And I am horrified by what I'm hearing coming out of your mouth tonight, and by the way you're treating our librarian. You are censoring books, and this is not Russia. This is not Iran. We're living in the United States, right? Censorship went out a long time ago, didn't it? I don't understand what's happening here. You have no right to impose your personal beliefs on what the public gets to read in this library. That is not what your purpose is here for. Your ignorance and fear is not a valid reason to bypass the process that everyone's been talking about, that you set in place, and you didn't feel like reading, so you didn't finish the books. And now you're talking about changing the process, and we know how certain people like to do things like that. When it doesn't work your way, you change the rules. We have a right to access a diverse range of stories and perspectives. Censoring or banning books, which I'm sure is what you essentially want to do, but for some reason, public's kind of stopping you. That's hurtful for people. People need to see themselves reflected in books. And let me tell you, I don't know what you're afraid of, because the LGBTQ plus community, we are everywhere. We are standing in line behind you at Kroger and Meijer. We are sitting next to you in church. We are students in every public school in Hartland. And if you don't think that's true, you are lying to yourselves, and you are living in your Fox News bubble, or wherever you get your news. The First Amendment protects our right to express ideas and information without government interference. As elected officials, you are interfering with our right to get information. Again, I'm just going to throw this back out there. We don't live in China. We live in the United States. And this board does not have the right to censor or ban books. Thank you.
What have we just from Brighton Township?
So for a year, you told the community that you didn't trust the biased staff and that it was your responsibility to read each challenged book, cite those page numbers, and apply a strict definition of sexually explicit content. And in that entire year, you relocated one book and it had already been labeled by staff. The facts didn't live up to the propaganda and the hype about porn being in the library, so you abandoned the policy because you couldn't deliver on it when you were held accountable to be honest and truthful following a policy. Michigan law requires public bodies to follow their own policies. When you adopt a procedure, you are bound to follow them. Ignoring those procedures, especially in a way that targets a specific group, is unlawful. The ACLU's letter to you states that this decision raises serious due process and First Amendment issues because the board forgoed its review process after it became clear that the director's evaluations did not support the relocation, after statements were made personally opposing LGBTQ content, and that you allowed the religious beliefs of the book challengers to take precedence over the policy and patrons' constitutional rights. Many of the books being moved, the picture books, the early readers, their middle grade stories, they do not belong in an adult section. In Sun versus Wichita Falls, a federal court held that moving children's books to the adult section places a significant burden on the right to receive information. The court rejected the argument that the books were still in the library. Burdening access is censorship, and it is against the constitutional rights of the minors that are using this library. You were warned repeatedly, and you proceeded anyway. And I don't care what side of the political aisle people sitting in here or watching from home are on, but we are all equal under the law, and it must mean something. We have individuals up here who think it's okay to disregard policy and rule of law and to use their government positions to discriminate and censor against anyone they disagree with. Elected officials must abide by and uphold the law. It is the most basic thing that you are required to do in those seats. And yet over and over again, you have failed to abide by that basic responsibility.
Janet Jesenet, Livingston County.
Okay, hi. First I want to just get a little thing out, well, big thing. Thank you to Sarah for what she's doing. I would rather, instead of having Sarah look at 6,000 books, I would rather have her do what she's been doing too. Make the grounds better, make some good programs for people, and you're burdening her with reviewing books that we've talked about is highly illegal and against our First Amendment rights. The second issue is that this library board getting security here is wasting our taxpayer dollars. There's been no threats, there's no altercations. I've been coming here too, like since last December. I've never felt threatened walking out of a meeting, at a meeting at all. So if somebody's passionate, that isn't a threat. There's passion, there's a threat. Okay. Also, the comment about that people want social issue stickers. I would like to know the statistical proof of that. Did anyone do a survey? And what did the survey say? So really, a lot of people that I know have never been asked, do you want stickers on books for social issues? My background, I've got a bachelor's in Bachelor of Arts from the University of Michigan, major in English, minor in social sciences. And my opinion is every single book is about a social issue, or it wouldn't be read, or it wouldn't even be a book. You might say maybe a kindergartner, reading Carl's book about the hungry caterpillar going through the fruit, but anything else is always about a social issue. So just saying that we need to put stickers and the certain social issues, you're gonna have a sticker on every book and then it's gonna be meaningless. So I don't understand that part either. So I really just, it's just sad. It really is sad that we are in this discussion. This is a public library. It is given its charter from the state of Michigan and the federal government, and we have to support everyone. Libraries are for everyone. And it is not anybody else's right to choose for my kids
what I need, what they need. I can protect my own children. That is not the job of a library, to protect children. Your job is to make access available, and it is the parents or the guardian's job to protect children.
Christina Campbell from Hartland.
Good evening. As a fellow highly educated woman, I know you guys are all afraid of our wonderfully educated librarian over here, or it seems you guys are because you're not trusting her expertise and the expertise of our librarians to do their job. It's very simple. They're the ones trained. They're the ones who know what the hell they're doing. Let them do their job. We hire people to do the job that they are trained to do. Let them do it. And as for the subject matter, people talk about, LGBTQ people choose to be gay. So, tell you a story. I grew up in the church, very active, used to lead be in the choir, lead the kids' RE classes, that kind of stuff. I went to college and I met a friend who was out, my friend Alex, and he's gay. And I remember him telling me the story. He's like, Christina, because I, growing up in the church, it's a church, or growing up in the church, it's a choice. And he's like, Christina, why would anyone choose to be ostracized by society? It is not a choice they make, it is who they are. So I would like to end this by wishing you all a wonderfully joyful and happy Pride.
Why wasn't one of the trustees included in the email? I'm curious if that violates an Open Meetings Act. She also mentioned there's no policy in place. I was here at the June 3rd meeting of last year. It's on record, where the gentleman in the room called someone whose job is all under your purview, sweetheart. So that was offensive to me, just as a woman, and just to see it's demeaning. I've also been appalled by some of the faces I've seen made at our director, and I see a coldness. I'm getting a real cold vibe from like 4 or 5 of you here, and it's very it's almost like I'm watching someone getting gaslight for their and you using the power over their job to try to impose your agenda. You're saying it's a hardship to read books. Well, it might be a hardship for someone to go be ostracized and be saying that they're reading a book that makes them like somehow a special issue or something. You're worried about your hardship and your time. How about the people trying to access books that they're rightfully entitled to? If you want to go in that opposite direction, okay, make all you people follow the religion that you supposedly back up. I've seen nothing here but emptiness and gaslighting, and it's disgusting. You should really think about yourself as human beings, because I'm appalled. Yeah, and I do recommend to all of people out there who are weaponizing Christianity to take a good hard look at a book I recommended 1 year ago called The Kingdom, the Power, and the Glory by a conservative from this area. The name is Tim Alberta. And having grown up in a conservative family and conservative values, suddenly, people like you make bullies, turn kids into bullies. And I was bullied at school for holding a girl's hand before I even knew what sexuality really meant. So you're like ostracizing kids from meaningful relationships with your own bigotry and prejudices. And I did my final paper, my bachelor degree was on high rate of suicide in LGBTQ communities. They're on the whole good, creative people that lend a lot to society, and we're losing them by a lot because of people like you.
Rox Neal from Deerfield.
That's really.
Right, I'm sorry.
Excuse my penmanship. I live in Deerfield Township, a little bit south here, but I've been through Hartland many times and most recently attended the parade. And, 2 advanced degrees in special ed. And I'm completely blown away with your poise and ability to walk a tightrope. So congratulations. There's pleasure to ask her a yes or no question.
No, because you're addressing the board.
Yeah.
You're addressing the board.
Okay, well,
You can feel.
I hope you're satisfied with the decision of the board to table the discussion for a later date. And if so, I'll postpone my lecture on First Amendment. But I do have some advice for everybody. The issue as I see it at the First Amendment is black and white. And you're violating free speech. But in my opinion, something more sinister is at play here. I've driven by Hartland hundreds of times, visited and shopped in your community. As a teacher, I can plainly see that you're very proud of your schools. You can see the baseball field from the expressway every time I drive by. It's beautiful. The evidence is obvious, but nothing more obvious than the school band that marches in your Memorial Day parade. Be warned, the same political mechanism that allows you to disregard First Amendment rights legitimizes the defunding of public education. It starts with public school vouchers, which will divert funds away from schools and weaken or eliminate programs we all have loved so much, like sports, band, advanced placement classes, drama, and skilled staff that encourage and protect your kids' right to become free thinkers. It starts here in this library in an effort to restrict access to ideas, but it won't stop here. Don't believe me? If you choose, read Project 2025 and see for yourself. The plan is to weaken your right to think freely. Make it stop here.
Barbara Foley from Oakfield. That's me. Sorry, it's hard to hear back there.
I'm impressed by the eloquence of the previous speakers. Mine will not be nearly as eloquent. My name is Barbara Foley. I've met some of you. My husband and I moved here to Deerfield Township in 1988. We came here with 3 children. We subsequently added 3 more. We paid thousands of dollars to the library fund through taxes, and we regularly utilize the library services. Today, I'm speaking to you on behalf of myself as a resident and utilizer of this library, and also as a member of the Livingston County League of Women Voters. First, for myself, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the Board of Trustees in that you, as has been mentioned many times today, have violated your own policy. You had a policy and procedure in place for challenging materials. You decided at the last meeting not to follow that policy, and you took a different tact. True, you can change that policy, but you can't undo what you did. You violated your policy rules. The ACLU letter lays out more clearly than I could, what that means to you. I think you put the library in jeopardy. Whether this was due to inattention, negligence, or intentional disregard, the board's actions at that May 2026 meeting was in direct conflict with the board's own policies. The board's change in that policy was without any notice to any of the public and without anybody's ability to discuss it. My confidence in the board's actions is based going forward on your ability to follow the board's policies, your own policies. The failure of the board to follow the board's policy creates doubt in my mind about the board members' fitness to serve as trustees on this board. Now, as a member of the League of Women Voters, if you don't know, the League of Women Voters is a nationwide organization that branches into every state in the country, as well as having branches in Michigan and locally here in Livingston County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political membership organization with core belief that responsibility for good government rests on the shoulders of the citizens. The League of Women Voters also supports individuals' right to make their own decision about their reading materials. Not only have your actions called the ACLU to take a look at what's going on here, you now have also captured the attention of the League of Women Voters. Thank you.
I believe that everyone has had a chance to speak that had turned in the card. Is there anybody else that would like to speak or did you? I didn't, yeah, that's, feel free to speak.
My name is Erin from Hartland.
Okay. That's why I'm asking, because there was some for 6:30. Okay, yeah, okay. Erin, I'm sorry, Erin from Hartland?
Yes. I want to thank Nancy Russo for being a voice of reason last month, to Janine Gilgleski, Becky Baisley, Kim Armstrong, John Smith, Bill Bull. Shame on you for violating the library's policy 3010, section 9, line F. The library board will review relevant documentation and decide within 60 days of receiving an appeal with the option to extend if necessary to fully evaluate the material. LGBTQ plus children who have been raised in strict Christian heteronormative upbringing experience more self-doubt and self-hate than normal. Some become so depressed they go so far as to commit self-harm and even suicide. LGBTQ plus children who see themselves represented in the library at varying age levels may be life-saving. By moving these books away to the adult section, you are in fact sanctioning their self-hate and might be supporting eugenics. Those of you who voted to move more than 160 challenge books to the adult section without doing due diligence by fully evaluating each book and have done so due to your religious convictions, you brought religious bias into our government of we the people for the people. Not all people share your beliefs. You have violated other people's religious freedoms and their constitutional rights to information. You failed to act in the best interest of this library and its community. Thank you.
There was, with the card, is there anybody else that wanted to speak that filled out a card at this time for the 7 o'clock meeting? So as the call product. Comments, information from the board comments at this point.
I picked a good meeting in this. Because I wasn't here last month.
I would just like to make some comments from the board as well, and I just want to say, it's just like, people have stated that for getting security here at the meetings and that as well. Some members of the board that you don't, really have privy information to have them threatened physically and physically, phone calls, different situations. So that is why we have security and also security here for each other. So I just want to kind of address that and put that out there. You're not aware of everything that happens, and when people are exiting meetings, things have happened to members of this board. So I just want you to all be aware that that is the reason for having security. And we did have security, I believe, a few months back too, for purposes of board situations going on. So we'll just have to say that. Board comments. She's been threatened. Pardon me?
It's difficult to understand you at times.
Okay.
To hear you.
Upcoming meetings, that's the next. Did we want to have the biggest, the July meeting? I mean, it's just like, do we want to go ahead and schedule meetings for August? Do we want to stick with the date that Sarah was looking for? Do we feel that we need to have a July meeting?
Yes.
We have to have a meeting, but do we want to have a special meeting? Do we want to go with the meeting that we had, with a date on the calendar, or do we want to do a special meeting?
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
I'd like to reserve the 9th.
Okay.
For who can come, and we will speak via email to make sure we have a quorum. If we don't, we'll do this.
So that's 10 and 10.
So reserve them, we reserve
We
them.
don't know if we have a quorum yet.
Right.
Three of you said yes, I haven't heard from Molly. If we can get a quorum, I'd like to do it on the 9th. If we can't, 16. Do we have a quorum on the 16th? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well,
I know that's hard.
Everyone's been available.
The nice thing is we have no policies we have to review. I would just said I want to talk more about these things. Would like to push until August so I can just do the bid between now and then,
Okay,
if that's acceptable.
so no committee meetings in the month of July?
Yeah.
Okay, so August committee meetings, if we can decide that
At the next.
of the next. Agenda items for the next meeting? We would have
It'll be the bid review
the bid review.
and then potentially year-end statistics. Strategic plan review, we can do that because I know it almost already. And then the policies are on here for August, so there's none for July.
Any other comments for meetings? For a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second by Kim, all those in favor? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. 8:45.